Hello there, welcome to News at 10 on Rajya television, where we get you the biggest developing news stories from India and around the globe. My name is Aishwarya and here are the headlines. Centre working to overhaul direct tax regime. Task force set to review Income Tax Act to submit report within 6 months. Union Cabinet approves the setting up a 15th Finance Commission. Revised salaries for Supreme Court and High Court judges cleared. Not to ordinance to amended changes to Insolvency and Bankruptcy Court. Global conference on cyberspace from today. Over 10,000 delegates from over 120 countries participating in the two-day event to be inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Delhi. Jammu and Kashmir government announces withdrawal of FIRs against first-time stone pelters. Decision following a suggestion by Centre's Special Representative Dineshwar Sharma. And India on course for their best performance so far at the Women's Youth World Championships. 7 boxers book berths in the semi-final. At Hong Kong Open, PV Sindhu, Saina Nehwal and HS Pranoy in the second round. Our top story at the top of this hour, the two-day global conference on cyberspace begins in Delhi from today. Now, this is the 5th edition of the global event with over 10,000 delegates from over 100 countries participating. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the opening ceremony shortly. A large number of national and international leaders, policy makers, industry experts, think tanks and cyber wizards are taking part in the conference being held in India for the first time. The first time global conference on cyberspace was held in London in 2011. Now, the theme for the 5th edition of the conference this year is Cyber for All, an inclusive, sustainable development, safe and secure cyberspace.
2017 is to promote an inclusive cyberspace with focus on policies and frameworks for inclusivity, sustainability, development.
On to some other news now. The centre is working to overhaul the Income Tax Act. A task force to review the Income Tax Act of 1961 has been constituted by the centre. The panel has been tasked with drafting a new direct tax law that is aimed at widening the tax base. CBDT member Arvind Modi will be the convener of the task force, while Chief Economic Advisor Dr. Arvind Subramanian will be a permanent special invitee. The panel will keep in view direct tax system in various countries, international best practices and the present economic condition of the country. While preparing the draft, it has been given 6 months' time to bring out its report. This is the next big change in the taxing system that the government is attempting after the implementation of the GST indirect tax regime. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed concern over large numbers of people's grievances. At a meeting of Pragati to review various projects, the Prime Minister emphasized on the need to improve administrative arrangements for the early redressal of complaints. The Prime Minister also took stock of the progress of 9 infrastructure projects in the railway, road, power and renewable energy sectors. The Prime Minister also reviewed the progress in the implementation of the Pradhan Mantri Khanij Kshetra Kalyan Yojana, a scheme for the welfare of areas and people affected by mining-related operations. It was the 23rd interaction of the Proactive Governance and Timely Implementation, or Pragati. The Union Cabinet meeting chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday approved the setting up of the 15th Finance Commission. The Cabinet also approved some other significant decisions. Here are the details.
The Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs on Wednesday cleared the setting up of the 15th Finance Commission. It will decide distribution of tax between the centre, states and local bodies. The Finance Commission is set up every 5 years. The government has allotted 10 crore rupees in the 2017-2018 budget for it. Recommendations of the previous 14th Finance Commission are valid from 2015 to 2020, while the 15th Finance Commission recommendations will be implemented from 1st April 2020. In other decisions, the Cabinet approved wage revision for central public sector enterprises.
एक enabling decision होता है कि हर CPSC अपने employees के साथ wage negotiations आरंभ कर सकती है। कुछ CPSCs में ये 5 वर्ष के लिए वेज नेगोशिएशन होता है, कुछ में 10 वर्ष के लिए होता है। हर CPSC को फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी है।
The Cabinet also cleared the ordinance to make changes to the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. It will be presented in the winter session of Parliament.
Some changes are proposed to the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Since this is being done by an ordinance till it is approved, as a matter of propriety, we don't give the details.
The Cabinet also approved the revision in the salaries, allowances, pension of judges of the Supreme Court and the High Courts in order to implement the recommendations of the 7th Pay Commission. The increase in the salary and allowances will benefit 31 judges of the Supreme Court and 1,079 judges of High Courts. Around 2,500 retired judges will also benefit.
सरकार ने फैसला किया है तो अब सुप्रीम कोर्ट जजेस कंडीशन ऑफ सर्विस एक्ट 1958 और हाई कोर्ट जजेस कंडीशन ऑफ सर्विस एक्ट 1954 में हम अमेंडमेंट करेंगे, क्योंकि जजेस की सैलरी के बारे में कोई भी फैसला बाय ए प्रॉपर लेजिस्लेटिव इंस्ट्रूमेंट होता है तो उसको अमेंडमेंट करना पड़ता है.
A new scheme, Mahila Shakti Kendra, to empower rural women with an outlay of 3,636.85 crore rupees was also sanctioned. An agreement on cooperation between India and Russia to combat all forms of terrorism and organized crime was similarly approved. Also, India's membership for the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development got the nod. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Now an update on the upcoming winter session of Parliament. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has clarified that the government will ensure a normal winter session of Parliament. He also explained that the government did not want the dates of the session to overlap with the elections in Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Anand Kumar has also said that the session, which generally starts from November 3rd week, would be convened in the month of December. The PTI is quoting government functionaries that the centre is contemplating convening the session from 15th of December, a day after the second and the final phase of Gujarat Assembly polls.
In a democracy, when elections are on, political parties are then addressing the people directly. Elections and parliament sessions normally don't overlap. So even when general elections are held, you finish the budget session immediately in the first week of March, so that by the time the campaign begins and the elections are notified, the parliament session is not on.
Let's now get you all the news related to the upcoming Gujarat Assembly polls. Patidar quota agitation leader Hardik Patel has announced his support to the Congress party in the Gujarat Assembly election. He said this after the Congress assured him that the party will give reservation to his community under a special category. However, reacting to the development, a senior BJP leader Arun Jaitley stated that the Congress was making promises that cannot be kept.
Patidar quota stirred leader Hardik Patel has announced his support to the Congress for the Assembly elections in Gujarat. The support came after the Congress accepted his demand of providing reservation to the community.
गुजरात के बिन आरक्षित वर्ग के लिए स्पेसिफिक सर्वे होगा. कांग्रेस की गवर्नमेंट बनती है तो असेंबली के अंदर जल्द से जल्द आर्टिकल 31C के आधार पर, संवैधानिक आर्टिकल 46 के प्रावधानों के आधार पर वो बिल विधानसभा में रजू करेगा, पारित करेंगे.
Congress has proposed a reservation formula for Patidars that will be over and above the 50% quota for SC, ST and OBCs under a special category. Hardik Patel also said the Congress will take the constitutional path of bringing in reservation.
पिछड़े हुए हैं आर्थिक रूप से भी, समय आ गया है कि हम सब उनको आरक्षण की बात करेंगे और संभव है जैसे आज तमिलनाडु में हुआ है, अगर दक्षिण के राज्यों में हुआ है तो कोई कोई तरीका निकाल करके बाकी देश के राज्यों में होना चाहिए, समय आ गया है, उसकी पैरवी हम लगातार करते आ रहे हैं.
However, soon after the announcement, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley took a swipe at the alliance and said that the Congress Hardik club is one of mutual deception, as the law is clear that the 50% cap on reservation cannot be breached.
The law of the land is very clear, and that's laid down by the Supreme Court. And only last week in the Rajasthan case, it has been reaffirmed that the 50% cap can't be breached.
ये सौदाबाजीना भागरूपे એને જે સ્ક્રિપ્ટ પત્ર કોંગ્રેસ તરફથી આપવામાં આવ્યો છે એ પત્ર આજે એણે વાંચ્યો છે. હાર્દિક જેવા મૂર્ખા મેં કોઈને જોયા, હજુ નાનો છોકરો છે એટલે હું એને બહુ કહેતો નથી.
For the forthcoming elections, the Congress is hoping to dismount the long-ruling BJP by going for an alliance with the Patidars. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
That was our special segment, Verdict 2017. And with that, we'll take a very short break. We'll be right back.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back after the break, and now an update on the row over film Padmavati. And the Lok Sabha Committee on Petition has referred a plea filed before it over the film Padmavati to the Information and Broadcasting Ministry and the Censor Board. The plea was filed before the House panel by two BJP MPs from Rajasthan. It alleges objectionable content in the film. The panel has now asked the Ministry and the Censor Board to submit a report before 30th of November. Chief Ministers of Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh and Punjab have opposed the release of the movie. The Gujarat government has also banned the release of the film in the state, citing law and order issue. Protests have been taking place in several parts of the country over allegations that the film distorts historical facts. The makers of the film have already deferred its release that was originally slated for 1st of December.
कल महाराणा प्रताप को चौकीदार लगा दोगे कि साहब फिल्म है, फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन होना चाहिए, तो फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन मेरे पास भी है. मैं इस फिल्म से इत्तेफाक नहीं रखता.
Big story coming in from Jammu and Kashmir. Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti has announced the withdrawal of cases against youths involved in stone pelting for the first time. In a series of tweets, Mehbooba Mufti said that the confidence-building measure has reaffirmed the centre's commitment of creating an atmosphere for sustained dialogue. The decision was suggested by the centre's special representative to Jammu and Kashmir, Dineshwar Sharma, who had held talks with various groups in the valley earlier this month. Over 11,500 cases were registered against stone pelters since last July in the unrest that broke out after the death of Hizbul terrorist Burhan Wani. The centre may also review the remaining cases of stone pelting in consultation with the state government. It is also expected to enhance the compensation for the policemen martyred during encounters.
सरकार सोचती है कि वहाँ का युवा जो बहका हुआ था उसके रास्ते पर लाया जाए. जिन्होंने पहली बार स्टोन पेल्टिंग की है, बार बार नहीं की है, ऐसे वहाँ के युवाओं को मुकदमा न चले. ये सरकार ने, राज्य सरकार को कहा है कि नया प्रयास है और ये कोई छुपावा नहीं है कि पाकिस्तान के द्वारा वहाँ के नौजवानों को बहकाया जाता है. उसका.
And in some good news, India on Wednesday successfully test-fired the world's fastest supersonic cruise missile BrahMos from a Sukhoi 30 combat jet, paving the way for its induction into the Indian Air Force. With this, the armed forces are now capable of launching the BrahMos from land, sea and air, completing the tactical cruise missile trial for the country. The land and warship versions of the missile have already been inducted into the armed forces. Weighing 2.5 ton, BrahMos, which has a strike range of around 290 kilometers, is the heaviest weapon to be deployed on India's Sukhoi 30 fighter aircraft. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a tweet expressed delight and congratulated all those associated with the remarkable feat. Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman also congratulated Team BrahMos and the scientists at DRDO for the historic achievement. BrahMos is a joint venture between DRDO of India and MPO Machino-Strygenia of Russia.
मिसाइल अपने ट्रैजेक्टरी में जैसे प्लान था वैसे ही गया और जो टारगेट है उस पे डायरेक्टेड किया है. इसके साथ जो भारतीय वायुसेना का जो क्षमता है जबकि स्टैंड ऑफ रेंज से मार करने का उसमें सिग्निफिकेंट कैपेबिलिटी आज आपने एस्टैब्लिश किया.
And Vice President M Venkaiah Naidu participated in the 92nd birth anniversary celebrations of Sathya Sai Baba in Anandpur district of Andhra Pradesh. He also inaugurated the Sri Sathya Sai Archives building, which houses 9 lakh audio cassettes, 5.5 lakh films, 7,000 manuscripts, 10,000 videotapes and 1.5 lakh photographs depicting the life and message of Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Speaking on the occasion, Naidu said that Sathya Sai proved that service to humanity is the service to God by launching several schemes which benefited the common man.
Information with confirmation is more than an ammunition. It's an ammunition. To give jnana, remove ajnana, pass on the information for generations to come. It's really a great initiative with the blessings of Sri Sathya Sai Ji, taken up by the trustees. So I would like to really compliment the scientists, the technicians and the trustees for getting this noble work done.
And Vice President M Venkaiah Naidu also said that every reform must have a human face and that the fruits of the reforms must reach the poorest section of the society. Addressing the gathering after inaugurating 160th year celebrations of a Kochi Chamber of Commerce and Industry on Wednesday, the Vice President said that the government's role is to provide an enabling role for businesses to grow. Advocating regulations without strangulations for trade, the Vice President said that the Chambers of Commerce play an important role in economic development of the country. The Vice President also urged the corporate sector to take up initiatives in corporate social responsibility. He also said that demonetization and the GST was in favor of the common man.
27% of the world GDP used to come from India. Important role the bodies like Chamber of Commerce play in the economic development of the country. They act as a bridge between the government and the industry in creating conducive atmosphere, in highlighting the problems of the sector and in impressing upon the public representatives the need to make the needed changes and reforms.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Sri Lankan counterpart Ranil Wickremesinghe will hold extensive talks today. In their talks, PM Modi and Wickremesinghe are also expected to deliberate on a range of issues, including ways to boost trade and security cooperation. The visiting Prime Minister is also attending the 5th Global Conference on Cyberspace. He will also call on President Ram Nath Kovind. Prime Minister Modi visited Sri Lanka in May this year. Wickremesinghe arrived in Bengaluru on the 21st of this month. He will wrap up his visit on Friday. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will be on a 4-day visit to India in January next year. Netanyahu's visit comes a little more than 6 months after Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Israel. Netanyahu would be the only second Israeli Prime Minister to visit India since diplomatic relations were established between the two countries in 1992 and the first visit almost 15 years. The visit will begin on 14th of January and a detailed program is still being worked out. News from Pakistan, where a court there on Wednesday ordered the release of a JUD terrorist and 2008 Mumbai terror attacks mastermind Hafiz Saeed on the expiry of his 30-day house arrest. A review board of the Lahore High Court overruled the Punjab government's request to extend his detention, citing that Saeed's release may trigger international sanctions against Pakistan. Last month, authorities had withdrawn terrorism charges against Hafiz Saeed and kept him in detention under the Maintenance of a Public Order Act, paving the way for his release. He is set to be released from house arrest today. Reacting to the development, the US said that Saeed is a terrorist leader designated by both the UN and the US. And a follow-up on a Zimbabwe political crisis, and the country's former vice president has returned to the country to serve as interim president following Robert Mugabe's historic resignation. Emmerson Mnangagwa arrived at the ruling ZANU-PF party headquarters in the evening yesterday to the cheers of thousands of supporters. He vowed to lead the nation into a new and unfolding democracy and also to create jobs. Mnangagwa is scheduled to be sworn in on Friday. He had fled the country after being dismissed as vice president by Mugabe. His expulsion had led to the military to intervene and force an end to Mugabe's 37-year-long rule. Meanwhile, ruling ZANU-PF party says that Mnangagwa would serve the remainder of Mugabe's term until elections that are due to be held by September 2018.
The people have spoken. You yourself said, if the people say I must step down, you shall comply. This is the time to comply. Because the voice of the people is the voice of God. Today, we are witnessing the beginning of a new and unfolding democracy for our country.
And Russia, Iran and Turkey will hold a congress in Russia to talk about peace in Syria. Russian President Vladimir Putin declared that an arrangement has been reached to hold a congress. His comments came after he met with Iranian President Hassan Rouhani and Turkish President Recep Erdogan in the Russian Black Sea resort town of Sochi. He had earlier hosted Syrian President Bashar al-Assad here. Putin said that the Congress, whose members would include figures from the Syrian regime and the opposition, would lay the groundwork for a new constitution and elections in Syria. However, no date for the proposed Congress has been announced. The developments come ahead of the latest round of UN talks in Geneva next week, for which the Syrian opposition groups are aiming to form a united front. Putin says that the Congress in Russia would be a stimulus for the UN-hosted talks in Geneva.
Согласовать принципы государственного устройства. Очевидно, что процесс реформирования будет непростым, потребует компромиссов и уступок со стороны всех его участников.
And now a wrap of all the other international news now in World Wrap. The United States on Wednesday declared the ongoing violence against Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar as ethnic cleansing. In a statement, the U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said that the Trump administration could impose new penalties on it. Over 6 lakh Rohingyas from Myanmar's Rakhine state have fled to neighboring Bangladesh so far. The UK government has announced that it is setting aside an extra £3 billion over the next 2 years in preparation for Britain's exit from the European Union. During the budget speech to Parliament, Finance Minister of that country, Philip Hammond, said that the UK government is taking a balanced approach to steer Britain's economy through the next few years. The Finance Minister also described Britain as an outward-looking, free trading nation and a force for good in the world, and a country fit for the future. And Argentina has accepted help from Russia in the search of a military submarine that went missing with the 44 crew members on board in the South Atlantic a week ago. Argentinian president said that his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin had phoned him to offer to deploy a survey vessel and crew with the experience of similar operations. More than a dozen nations, including the US, are taking part in the search operations. Let's get you all the sporting action now. And Indian boxers are on course for their best ever performance at the AIA Women's World Youth Championships in Guwahati. Now, India is assured of 7 medals at the ongoing tournament after 7 women boxers booked their berths in the semi-finals. Ankushita Boro in the 64 kg category, Jyoti Gulia in 51 kg, Neetu in 48 kg, Shashi Chopra in 57 kg and Sakshi Chaudhary in the 54 kg weight category won their respective quarter-final bouts to join Neha Yadav and Anupama, who have already secured berths in the last 4. And ace badminton players Saina Nehwal, PV Sindhu and HS Pranoy have entered the second round in the singles event of the Hong Kong Super Series badminton tournament. Olympic silver medalist PV Sindhu beat Wai Leung of Hong Kong 21-18, 21-10. She will now face Japan's Aya Ohori. Also, world number 11, Saina Nehwal beat Mette Poulsen of Denmark 21-19, 23-21. Saina Nehwal will next face the Chinese Chen Yufei. In the men's singles, HS Pranoy beat Yoon Hu of Hong Kong 11-21, 21-17, 21-15. He will now face Japan's Kazumasa Sakai in the next round. And in cricket, Australia and England are playing their first Ashes Test match series at Brisbane today. England are 59 for the loss of 1 wicket in 29 overs, with batsmen MD Stoneman and JM Vince at the crease. Both the teams are looking to perform their best in the series. Australian captain Steve Smith has confirmed that opening batsman David Warner will play. England have not won a test at Brisbane since 1986, while Australia have not lost a test on this ground since 1988. And Rashtrapati Bhavan will now be open for public viewing for 4 days a week from today. Now, according to an official statement, any person can visit the President's house on Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday between 9 in the morning to 4 in the evening after paying 50 rupees per individual. Children below the age of 8 are exempted from the charge. The entry and exit for visitors will be through gate number 2, 37 and 38 of the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Visits can be booked online through the website of the President's Secretariat. At the time of the visit, Indian citizens are required to carry a valid photo identity card, while foreign citizens are required to carry their original passport. And finally, public broadcaster Prasad Bharati completes 20 years today. On the occasion, CEO Shashi Shekhar Vempati congratulated the members of Prasad Bharati on social networking site Twitter. The statutory autonomous body established under the Prasad Bharati Act, Prasad Bharati, came into existence in 1997. The objectives of public service broadcasting are achieved through All India Radio and Doordarshan. And that's all in this edition of news. Thanks for watching.